So who do you think is going to be the biggest riser and faller this week as we enter the fourth week of NBA power rankings? You'll have your rankings up this coming Monday. What are you expecting, Kyle?
Well, this is an interesting place because I would have told you the Miami Heat would be fast risers at the start of this, but now that seems to be not the case after they lost to the Nuggets by 20 points without Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. But I don't play the 1-game sample size rule on any of this stuff. It's why the biggest faller won't be the Milwaukee Bucks, despite the fact everyone's going to try and pressure me to put the Milwaukee Bucks lower because
they are under 500.
Yeah, they're 4-6 right now. So people are going to pressure me to put the Bucks down, but this is not the case. Now, are the Bucks championship good? Yes, because they just have Giannis. Are they the championship contender? No, but I said that at the start of the season that they weren't the champion. I think I had them number 2 in the power rankings, and part of that was like just concern about the Lakers. 1, 2, and 3.
Would they at least drop outside of 2?
I think last week we had them at 4, or 2 weeks ago we had them at 4.
You had them at 2.
Oh, I did have them at 2.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to justify a 4-6 team at 2.
They won't be 2 then, but I think that's just a credit to teams that have been like Miami. Miami will be up there. They deserve that. They've been pretty good. 76ers, they've been pretty good. But then there are teams that you also would like to have rise a lot, but you also know that they're not really as good as the record suggests. Case in point, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Shout out to them. 7-4. They just lost Colin Sexton to a torn meniscus. So that's going to end up pushing them down lower. Cavs are okay. They're fine. Yeah. They're going to fall at some point here, but they're fine.
You have the Wizards at 11 and they're 7-4 at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, the Wizards will that's a riser, but it's not really like a gigantic riser. I guess the best way to do risers would be someone who was low and is going to make this big jump. So like, I think Phoenix is probably going to go up this week because they've ran off like 5 or 6 straight wins. I think they were somewhere in the double digits coming into this. So they'll be somewhere in the top 10 because Phoenix is one of those teams where they want to be a championship contender, but they're kind of in that like second round exit group where they have high expectations for themselves because of the weird championship run last year. But the talent on paper suggests that they don't really have much of a chance to make a deep playoff run, like get back to the finals. Like last year was probably their best chance to win the championship, but it was like they started off looking kind of average. And it was a lot of mid-range jumpers from Devin Booker. I think Phoenix actually, by the way, takes the fewest number of 3-pointers in the league this year, which is a fun fact because Devin Booker and Chris Paul are 2 of the best mid-range shooters in the NBA, but now they've been hitting shots more consistently and they'll move up there. And Phoenix has a talented team. I think they just started off kind of in the middle. I think they were 13 or 14 2 weeks ago. So they'll probably jump somewhere into the top 10. Wizards are a fine team. I don't think they're going to jump much more than 11, even if they're 7-4 at this point, just because I don't think they're that good.
I see you have the Mavericks at 12. They're 7-3 at this point. I mean, you just were praising Luka on a more recent video of the Slumpbuster here for his game winner. I mean, I can see them jumping into a top 10.
Oh, they'll definitely be there. I think part of that is because the Knicks are not going to be in the top 10 next week. So that's an easy spot to fill in there, but they've been fine this year. I think that the Mavericks are in a similar position to the Suns. Their best player is better than the Suns' best player. If you want to pick Chris Paul or Devin Booker, I personally picked Devin Booker, but you could pick both ways on who the Suns' best player is. The second best player on the Mavericks is where there's a problem. And again, Luka last year had the highest usage rate in 5 years in the NBA, which is saying something because remember, James Harden used to be the dribble guy that everyone made fun of. Luka has a higher usage rate this year than he did last year. So they did nothing to fix the problem of just the entire offense running through Luka, but they're still winning a bunch of games because Luka Doncic is like 22 and already one of the 6 best players in the NBA.
Here's one. Are the Lakers a top 10 team? They're currently 6-5. Okay.
There's nothing. There's
easy for sure. I mean, this is a team that's lost twice now to Oklahoma City. Twice.
Yeah. Those are just weird. They're just, the NBA is weird like that. It's the same thing as football. The NBA 1-game sample sizes are weird in the NBA. I honestly, like, genuinely don't think there's anything the Lakers could do to fall outside of the top 10 because I know that team is good. I know just because you have Anthony Davis and because you have LeBron James and because you have Russell Westbrook, that makes your team good. Now, injuries would be the reason they would fall out of the top 10. I should put that out there. I can't think of a reason when they're all playing relatively healthy. At least two of them are healthy.
Then in theory, I would say, wouldn't this technically be the power rankings update to knock them outside of the top 10 just simply because LeBron James is potentially going to miss at least the next 2 weeks?
And Anthony Davis is day to day pretty much every game at this point. So this would be the time to do it, with the kicking off injuries early this year with the Lakers, because LeBron James and Anthony Davis are already battling injuries. This is the problem with the Lakers. Same problem they had in 2019, same problem they had in 2020, mixed in with winning the championship. And they won the championship 2020. Last year, they got hit with injuries, which is just Anthony Davis and LeBron James both get hurt quite a bit. And LeBron James, we used to think of as the invincible guy. And now he's had 2 consecutive years with season-ending injuries, and he's holding on to the last stages of being an elite player. But I guess you're right. This would be the week to drop them out of the top 10. I'm looking through the rankings from last week, and I feel like the top 10 is going to be pretty consistent. Warriors are good. Brooklyn's still really good. 76ers top 10, the Heat top 10, the Boston Celtics are not top 10. Players only meeting, baby, in the 7th game of the season.
Yeah, let's kind of mention that a little bit. There's reports that Ben Simmons potentially could be in Celtics green sometime here soon. You know, one of multiple trade situations have been floated. I saw the potential details of that trade rumor get out, that it would be like Jaylen Brown, Robert Williams, a number of picks. And for me, that's just Daryl Morey. Dude, drop your asking price. No one is paying you that. You're getting Jaylen Brown in a first, or you're getting nothing.
I think that's what he has to ask for, though, right? Like, he has to try and shoot for the moon with Ben Simmons, because it's really hard to find a player as good as Ben Simmons. As much as we joke about him, you know, getting booed out of stadiums and not being able to shoot, it's really hard to find a player that good. And yeah, Jaylen Brown is very good, but Jaylen Brown's like in a tier below Ben Simmons, where he and like Brandon Ingram are like people who, if they have a good year, will make the all-star team. But if not, then they're kind of on the fringes.
Here's what I'd say. As much as I would actually be disappointed in game Ben Simmons, I don't really want it from a watching the team standpoint. You know, my buying into everyone and liking their personalities, because I like Jaylen. I like Jason. I like Marcus. I like Al even. But I would have a hard time from banging on the dude for like years now, Ben Simmons, to having to support him because he's now part of the team. I would eventually, but it would take time. It would be like reverse Kyrie Irving, where I was all in favor of him and then eventually grew to despise him. I would despise him coming in and have to grow to love him. I think from a basketball standpoint, it would be a good fit, because I could see him and Jason being a good combination there. Him as a good distributor, Jason is that outside wing. No one has to go into the middle, kind of get that congestion that we always hear about with Embiid and Simmons as they're currently constructed in Philadelphia. From the Philadelphia standpoint, Jaylen and Embiid, that could be a solid production, because you talk about Jaylen being that shooting guard from the outside. Again, another athletic wing there. He can actually shoot, so that put some relief on Embiid to be able to just be that monster in the middle of the paint there. So for both teams, it would make them better, I think, from a schematic standpoint, because right now the Celtics are caught in this hell where either Jason has a good game or Jaylen has a good game, but they can't seem to have a good game together.
Yeah, this is my reaction to seeing the tweet from Shams Charania that the Celtics were inquiring about Ben Simmons and that the deal would have to be like a Simmons for Brown swap. It was just, okay. Both teams are kind of about the same. I mean, they might both get better schematically, but I think that only does so much of a difference for like improving a seed or making them go from, in the case of the Celtics, a team that's going to get bounced in the first round to a team that's going to make it to the conference championship. I don't think that difference makes that much of an impact. I think the same thing we've been saying now, I think since like pre-pandemic for the Celtics is still true, which is how good is Jason Tatum going to be? That's pretty much just the story of how good the Celtics are or are not going to be, is just what is Jason Tatum's ceiling at this point.
His biggest problem seems to be inconsistencies, because he'll trade a 50-point game for a dinger where he just can't get anything in the basket, where just shooting pure bricks. I think I saw in that Knicks game, God, I think he was like shooting less than 30% or something gross.
Yeah. And to be fair, if that's the case, that means Jason Tatum is going to be one of these like third tier stars, which is really, really good. Like that's someone who can on a good year start in the All-Star game. It also means when you play a team that has a star better than Jason Tatum, you're probably going to lose. And that's fine. I think a lot of teams would trade that position to get Jason Tatum at this point. It just means the Boston Celtics are going to be like the Portland Trailblazers for the next 4 years or something like that. That's kind of what that means, but that's not bad. Like it's fine, I guess. They'll be hanging around the top 10 in the power rankings. How about that? That's what you do if you have Jason Tatum as your best player.
Well, that will be a relief because right now you have them at 19 and I can see them even dropping below that. Okay.
They'll be somewhere in there.
Maybe here. I mean, I would say the Clippers are playing better basketball. You had the Clippers at 20 and the Celtics at 19. So I would say that's an easy person you could have jump them.
That's fair. We know who the bad teams are, at least. Like
I would say the Cavs. Obviously, you mentioned them. You had them at 23, the Celtics at 19. How can I justify the Celtics above the Cavs at this point?
Just Jason Tatum. That's the only reason. Just Jason Tatum.
That's their point. There's record.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
the team of starting spiral. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just looking at the teams directly behind the Celtics and who I could see passing them.
Yeah, we know who the 10 bad teams are at this point. That's easy enough. We know who the bottom 10 are going to be. It's just filtering everyone else in there. Here, I'll do it right off the top of my head. So Pacers, Pistons, Magic, they're going to be at the very bottom. Toronto's going to be in the bottom 10, but not like too far down, but they'll be in the 20s somewhere.
They have a better record than the Celtics, 6-5.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to Scotty Barnes. We talked about him in that video we had, but that's fine. Pelicans without Zion suck. Rockets, Timberwolves, Thunder, Spurs. And then I guess Sacramento would be 21 again. I think Sacramento was 21 last week. I think Sacramento is going to be 21 again. So yeah, that's the bottom 10. Everyone else you can filter in somewhere between 11 and 20. So Boston will still make it in the top 20. How about that?
I don't know. Can the Celtics beat the Lakers twice? Because I'm looking at this OKC team. I'm not kidding, but